I'm Sierra Davis and I'll be showing you how to get a full face of makeup from start to finish. The materials that you'll need will be moisturizer slash primer, eyebrow pencil or powder, foundation of your choice, concealer 2 shades lighter than your skin tone and 2 shades darker than your skin tone, a contour palette, loose setting powder, shimmer highlight, eyeshadow palette of your choice, eyeliner, mascara, false lashes, setting spray, makeup brushes, and makeup sponges. Here I am doing my eyebrows. That's the first step. And I start by creating a line at the base of the brow, at the bottom of the brow, going in the natural shape of my eyebrow. Then I do the same thing at the top. This creates an eyebrow outline. Once I've gotten the eyebrow outline that I like, I go in and I fill in the sparse parts where I feel like it looks empty. And I just do this until satisfied, constantly looking in the mirror to see how I like it. The brow pencil that I'm using here is the Benefit Goof Proof Brow Pencil. And it has a spoolie on one end and the crayon pencil part at the other end. So I didn't need a spoolie, but if whatever it is that you're using does not have a spoolie attached to it, you will need one as well, which a spoolie basically looks like a mascara wand, but without mascara on it. Once you've put down some of the product, you brush through it to make sure it's blended out, because you don't want any harsh lines at the beginning of your brows. That doesn't look good. You don't want black brows. You want a nice, easy transition. Once you've gotten your brows down, you will take the concealer that's 2 shades lighter than your, either 1 to 2 shades lighter than your skin tone, and you're gonna line the bottom of your brows and begin to clean up any mistakes, or if you're like me and don't have your eyebrows done, you get to hide all of those unwanted hairs. So it's like you're arching your own eyebrows, but with makeup instead of actual razor or wax. So as you can see here, I'm just going underneath my brow. And the concealer that I'm using is the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Toffee. And see, I don't really put too much at the beginning of my brow because I don't usually have a lot of hair right there where I don't like it. I usually have a lot of hair on my tails where it's like just wild and overgrown. And when I filmed this, I was in desperate need of getting my eyebrows done. So this also just proves that you don't necessarily have to have perfect eyebrows or perfectly arched eyebrows in order to achieve a nice eyebrow look for your makeup. You can cover up any unwanted hairs with concealer. And this concealer that I'm using here retails for about $2 to $3 depending on where you are. I know at CVS it's like $2. No, $3. That's how much I pay for it. I think I paid for like $3 and some change. And along the top, I'm taking a second concealer in the shade called Beautifully Bronze by the same company, LA Girl Pro Concealer. And that one is close to my skin shade. So I said 2 shades darker. You don't need two shades darker. You just need one that's darker than the concealer that you use to highlight your face with or to brighten your face with. It needs to match your skin tone or be very close to your skin tone, because you don't want a halo eyebrow, which is where it's too light at the top and too light at the bottom. Like that ain't cute. And so this just helps you clean up at the top, but without it being too bright up there. It also helps if you have a headband, because a headband to keep your hair out of the way. If you don't have really long hair like that, then this won't be a problem for you. But if you have long hair like me, then you need something to keep it out of the way. And usually I do have a makeup headband, but when I wear my hair curly, it does not fit. So... and you just go in, and once you blend it out, you might take away too much of your concealer, so like the hairs will be covered, but like you can still see them poking through. Don't be afraid to put more concealer down, just so you can get the coverage that you want in those areas, so that you don't see. I spend a lot of time on my eyebrows because I'm a perfectionist, but your eyebrows will never look exactly the same. It's a saying. Your eyebrows are supposed to be sisters, not twins. So your eyebrows aren't going to look exactly the same unless you get them like tattooed on. And even in that, a lot of times they won't look the same. So they should look similar, but not identical. They're not going to look identical. Step 2 are the eyes. So you can use an eye shadow primer, or you can use concealer. Here I'm using concealer, and I'm just using that light shade. Some people use like a white concealer, and some people just use eyeshadow base, which, you know, concealer can double as that. You know, you just want a blank canvas. You don't want whatever your natural eye color is. Like my eyelids are naturally a little darker, so like just putting on eyeshadow won't work. Like I would need to blanken out the canvas, as well as, you know, if you have like, say, veiny eyes, like your eyelids are very veiny, you can see the veins in your eyes, and you will want to blank it out. And I'm still using that same LA Girl Pro concealer in the shade Toffee, and then just blending it out. And to blend out my concealer for my eyebrows and for my eyelids, I used a mini flat top brush. Okay, so on a big fluffy brush, I am dipping into a kind of like mustardy yellow shade. This shade, I could have used another pigment like catcher so that this shade could really just pop, because this is a Maybelline palette, and Maybelline is very good. However, it's a drugstore product, so sometimes it's not as pigmented as other brands. And I just like to stamp on my shadow and then blend it out, versus like automatically going in and sweeping it in. I like to get the color on there first and then buff out the edges. But this is literally just a transition shade, so that when we put on the darker colors, it does not look like a harsh line against our skin tone. That way it blends out very well and diffuses away. On another fluffy brush, I am going to go into more of a browner shade. It's more like, it has an orange undertone. It is a brown, but it has a orange undertone. And I'm going to put that in my crease, which is slightly underneath that yellowish shade that we put down, that mustard yellow that we put down. And this is just to prepare the eyes for the darker shade that we're gonna put on. I'm gonna show you how to do a cut crease. And so in a cut crease, you need good transitions, because a lot of times you want a dark crease. Like you want a crease that's very dark, because that way once you cut it, like, so you can see the contrast between your lid and your crease. Like, it just provides more drama. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. But yeah, and just with windshield wiper motions, just blending that out. And you'll see me constantly putting that down because I felt like you couldn't see it enough in my mirror. Okay, on a pointed tip brush, I'm going into I'm trying to think, did I go into a black? No, I went to a dark brown. I went into a very dark brown with a cool undertone. It had the undertone kind of like gray. And we're going to use that to deepen the crease. So you're going to put that sort of on top of that brown that you just put down, but like not all the way on top of it to where you completely cover it. You just want to put it on there so it can like deepen it just a little bit. And you're going to focus it on your outer V and then drag it into your crease. And so the outer V is that like outer corner of your eye where I just put it at. And then as you can see, I go back in with whatever's left on the fluffy brush that you use for your medium shade brown to blend that out, to diffuse it out so it does not look so harsh. Because everything above the cut crease should be blended down, and everything below the cut crease can be harsh lined because that's what you want. So when doing eye makeup looks, blending is your best friend. You don't want any harsh lines. Harsh lines don't look all that great. I mean, there are some people out there that don't mind harsh lines and they rock it, but harsh lines in the makeup community is not very welcomed. And so I'm going back in with that mustard yellow just to put it back on the outskirts because I felt like it got lost, which it did. So like just to kind of brush it onto the outskirts of the eye look. So here we're gonna cut the crease, and I just took an angled brush with some concealer on it, and I'm rolling my eyes in the back of my head so I can see where the concealer touches to, Because when you do this, you don't want to cut your crease right at your crease, because when you look up, your eyelid is going to touch the top of your crease. And then you're going to get eyeshadow transfer. So you want to cut a little bit above your crease. So that way when you look up, whatever you have on your lid is touching the same color. Like, it's not, I hope I'm explaining this correctly. Like, so that you won't have transfer. And so the angle brush is going to help create that sharp line. When you're doing this, you want to follow the natural shape of your lid while going slightly wider than, because I have smaller eyes. I have hooded eyes. If you have a lot of lid space, you don't have to do this. But if you have hooded eyes or monolids, then you would need to do this. And the type of cut crease we're creating today will be kind of like in a domed shape. You'll see me go back and finish the edge of that. It's not going to be like, there's a such thing as a half crease, which kind of is what my right eye is looking like, a half cut crease. But I'll go back and I'll dome it out on the end. And then there's one where you can flip it out like a wing. But I felt like doming it out would be very simple, very easy for people to understand. And that's just where you round it off at the end and touch the bottom of the lash line. See, it's like creating a half circle on your lid. And this is important because it gives you a blank canvas for your shimmer shade or your pop of color or whatever it is that you want to put on your lid. And I'm going to be going in with, I do believe, a shimmer shade. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to use, a shimmer shade. I don't think I used any glitter in this look. A flat brush, I'm going to go into the shimmer shade of my choice, and I am going to stamp that all over my lid. Also to help with with the great pigmentation of the shimmer shade, you can use like a glitter primer, or I would just say glitter primer. I wouldn't say use lash glue, because lash glue is only a good alternative if you're going to do loose glitter, but lash glue might not work all that great for just regular old shimmer, a pressed shimmer, which is what I'm using here, which is like this kind of like champagne-y color. And I'm just packing that all over my lid. Okay, so here I'm going to be putting on eyeliner. This is optional. Some people don't like liquid eyeliner because they find it hard to use, but I'm going to be doing a cat's eye. The type of cat eye I will be doing will have like a funny shape to it, so it may look messed up to you all, but it is supposed to look like that. Like it's not a traditional cat eye that I am doing. The cat eye that I'm doing has a very wide tail, and then comes down at a very weird angle. And this type of wing liner, I saw one of my favorite YouTubers do, and I've been doing it ever since because to me this wing liner looks the best on my eye shape. You know, if your eyes are not shaped like mine, you don't have to try and figure out how to do this weird eyeliner thing. You can just do wing eyeliner, or you could not do it at all. And you definitely could go thicker with the eyeliner. Sometimes I'm always scared to go thick with my eyeliner because I'm scared that you're not going to see the look. But then, like, once I put lashes on and stuff like that, I feel like you can't see my eyeliner enough, which is another reason why I started doing my eyeliner in this way. I'm just using a Q-tip because I have bad allergies and my eyes water around this time of the year. So if you have bad allergies too, you can still wear eyeliner and it's perfectly fine. Just got to keep a couple of Q-tips handy. And now I'm just doing the same thing to the other eye. And just like eyebrows, wing liner is hard to get to look the same on the other side, especially if you're doing someone else's makeup. But if you're doing your own, it's not always hard, but it can be tricky, especially if it's a first time thing. And I'm just going and finishing out the liner by putting a very thin line across the entirety of the bottom of the lash line, the top lash line. See, my left eye looks so much better than my right one. Oh my gosh. That always happens to me. So you can see the shape that I was trying to achieve with my right one on my left. I don't know what's wrong with my right or with the right side. It's okay because my left side's my good side anyway. Step 3, the face. So you're going to want to start out by moisturizing or priming your face. Primer can be either something to moisturize your face with or something to giving your makeup something to adhere to. I wasn't going anywhere after this, so I didn't really need to use a primer, and I never really do use primer. I usually only use like some type of moisturizing mechanism. Here I'm using this this natural face oil that I always use, that my aunt made for me. And so you can just use whatever moisturizer you usually use, or you can use a primer. A good cheap primer is from NYX. Their primer I think is like $6. I know Elf has a $6 primer, or maybe even cheaper than that. But I do know it's around like $6 or $7 or something like that. Those are cheap primers. The setting spray that I will use is by Morphe, and it is a prep and set, so you can spray it on your face before you do your makeup and spray it on afterwards. But it's $15, so I mean, if you want to splurge, you can. I like it. And so here I am using the best foundation shade that I have at the moment for myself. Finding foundation shades to really match me is very hard, so this video in no way, shape, or form will be teaching you how to match your foundation, because it's an art to it, and sometimes it requires mixing different foundations, which a lot of times I I mix different foundations. I have a neutral undertone, and a lot of the shades that are deep enough for my skin have either a orange or yellow undertone, which is neither. I am both yellow and orange. So the only time I can really get away with having one or the other is in the summertime, because in the summertime I am a bit more on the reddish orange side. In the winter I am more on the yellow side, but not yellow enough to have a yellow undertone foundation. But it's best if I can find a neutral foundation. But if I don't, usually I go with something that's a little bit more on the like lighter orangier side. Like, I mean, sometimes I end up looking like a Oompa Loompa, and sometimes it's not that bad. In this case, it's not that bad. In person, you really couldn't tell the difference between the foundation and my skin tone like you can on camera. And that's just because there aren't going to be these big old bright lights pointed at me, as well as in the end finished product. You'll have contour on, you'll have concealer on underneath your eyes, which will all kind of like even out your face. So a lot of times that's what I lean on when I'm doing my makeup. I lean on concealer under my eyes and contour to like even out the rest of me, because a lot of times my foundation is not a perfect match. So to blend this out, I'm just using a flat top brush, and you want to make sure, if you put in foundation on, make sure you blend past your chin, blend down onto your neck. And so here I'm taking my concealer. I'm using the same concealer that I was using earlier on my eyes and underneath my eyebrows, the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the color Toffee. And you kind of want to make sort of like a upside down triangle under your eyes. Because I have a wider face, I don't take my highlighting. This used to be called highlighting, so you may hear me refer to it as highlighting, but now highlighting is usually referred to as the shimmer that you'll see me put on at the end. But yeah, and then I contour my nose. I highlight my nose by just focusing on the high points of my nose, like where if the light was shining at me, where would you see the light shining at? That's really what this is about. And this is about balancing your face. Because when you don't have on makeup, you are not all one shade. Like, you may think you are, but you're not. And you'll notice that you aren't when you put on foundation, whether it's your exact skin tone or not. You'll look blank. You'll look very washed out, maybe even. What I'm doing here is called reverse contouring. You don't have to do this. This step is very optional. I like to do this because this makes my contour look sharper, and I like a nice sharp contour. But yeah, you don't have to do this. Another like pro tip I would like to give is let your concealer sit a little bit. Like, let it dry down a little bit. Don't let it dry all the way down, because then you won't be able to blend it out. But let it dry down just a tinctures, just a little bit, so that because like if you do it too soon while it's wet, it will be hard to blend out. Not hard to blend out, but like you'll take away some of that product, and you will find yourself putting on more concealer to combat what you just took away because it was too light. So as you saw, I kind of like let it sit a little bit. Some people let it sit for as long as, like, they'll go and contour their whole face and then go back and blend out. I don't do all of that, but I do let it sit for a little bit, especially underneath my eyes. Like, that's where I want the most coverage at. The rest of my face, I don't really care if it has too much coverage. Like, I mean, I just want a little bit of lightness in those areas. I don't want it too light, but underneath my eyes is where I want the most coverage. So I most definitely try and make sure that I leave it a little longer there. And I forgot to put a little bit over my Cupid's bow. You want to do that because it highlights the lips and make them look nice. And to blend out my concealer, I'm using a medium-sized flat top brush. I really like brushes to blend out my makeup. Some people use makeup sponges, but I use brushes. That's why I said you'll need brushes and sponges, because some people use a brush for some things and sponges for others. I personally just like to use brushes. I don't never really use sponges for anything unless I'm doing a client's makeup, because sometimes sponges can be a little bit even then, sometimes I really don't. It depends on what it is for. I'll use a sponge on a client's face. But brushes are easier to clean, in my opinion. So if you are going to use brushes, sponges on someone else's face, use like the tiny little makeup wedges that you can throw away. Do not use a beauty blender or some type of bigger makeup sponge that is used to be reusable on anybody else's face but yours, because that is very unsanitary. Even if you clean it, because they're very hard to clean. So sometimes you can't get them as clean as you may want to. And so like for the smaller areas, I went back in and got a small buffer brush to kind of like just make sure everything's blended out good. Because like I said, with makeup, blending is your best friend. There is nothing like having unblended concealer or unblended contour. You do not want unblended contour. I think I thought I had something in my eye right there. Yeah, I would have just took this out, but didn't realize that I left that in there. So me blotting again with Q-tips because my eyes are the worst. Okay, so here we're going to set the concealer that we just put down with a loose setting powder. I thought I showed what it looked like, but I guess I accidentally cut it out. But this is the Maybelline Fit Me loose setting powder. You can use any setting powder. A lot of people use Airspun because it's good and cheap. Airspun is nice, but Airspun, they have a lot of different shades of pink. They don't they're usually, they say that they're translucent, but I mean, it can be a little too light sometimes. I definitely wouldn't bake with airspun, but it does work and it smells great. So I mean, it does get the job done. It is cheaper than this one, but Maybelline is also not very expensive. Everything that I'm using in this is either drugstore or drugstore priced. So the eyeliner I used was from NYX, and I think it may have been like, if I want to say $3. But you can also go to the beauty supply store and buy the $1 liquid eyeliner that has no brand. And it works just as great. And I'm just setting all the areas that I put concealer at, because wherever you put cream or liquid, anything, you want to set it, especially if you're oily and especially if you have face creases, because the cream and liquid will like to settle in those areas and create these lines and creases that really just don't look good, and they can age you. Step 4, contour. So here I'm going to be using the Fit Me press powder, and I'm going to be taking this big fluffy brush to contour my face. I forget what shade this is in. I think it says 30, but or 130. I'm not, or 330 maybe. I'm not quite sure what shade this was in, but usually, like, you can use a contour palette, or you can just find a press powder that's an appropriate shade darker than your skin tone. Some people go a little too dark with contour and it ends up looking a little muddy. You don't want that. So get something that's appropriate, you know, something that's, I would say maybe 1 to 2 shades darker. You could go a little darker than that, but you don't really need to go 5 or 6 shades darker than your skin tone with contour, unless you plan to sit there and blend it out all day. Like, you don't want something too light, and you definitely don't want something way too dark, because it can be hard to blend out. So here I'm just fluffing away. Once you've contoured your face, you can fluff all of that excess setting powder off. And this will also like help blend any edges of the contour that may look a little harsh. Like, you're not focusing on those edges, but you'll still hit them by default because you're fluffing away this excess powder. And so now I'm taking a small buffer brush and I am contouring the sides of my nose. I start up near the brow area because you want to give your contour some origin. You don't want it to start right at the bridge of the nose. Like, you want it to like kind of come from your eye socket on down, because that's where your nose really starts at. And then I just come down and I brush the tip of my nose, and I go over the top of my nose, the tip of my nose, just to kind of like create like this kind of like button effect. And so here I'm just like going over my eyebrows again. like because we use powder and different things like that, sometimes the brows can get a little lost, or like powder can get on the brows and dull them out. So if you're using like a brow pomade or something like that, then you may not have this problem, because those things are very, very bold and very pigmented, whereas a pencil can get a little lost, or even a powder can get a little lost in the sauce with other products surrounding them. On their own, they look very bold, but sometimes paired with other things, it cannot be as bold. But I still like the control of a pencil better, so I don't mind going back in and just emphasizing where I put my brows at. Five, highlight. This is my favorite part. This is where the shimmer and the shine comes in. You want to put this in the inner corner. I like to put this in the inner corner of my eyes because to me it makes my eyes pop. And I already have little eyes, so it widens my eyes. It makes my eyes look a little bit more open. And I'm just taking a really tiny fluffy brush, like it's very small. And I'm going to use that same brush to highlight the tip of my nose, and the tip and the bridge of my nose, just because the brush that I usually highlight with is a little bit big. And you also want to you can put a little bit of brow highlight on too. That's optional. Some people don't even do that. A lot of times I forget about it. Yeah, just like putting it on the nose. The highlighter I'm using is from Wet n Wild, which is also a drugstore product. So I don't really remember how much I paid for it, but I know it was cheap. It was probably like maybe $4 or $5, $6, something like that. Don't really see it being any more than that. Then highlighting that Cupid's bow makes the lips pop. Now on a fan brush, I'm just going to apply my highlight to my cheekbones. And I like to feather mine around my eye. So like I take it on the cheekbone and I flip it around. You can also put a little bit on your chin. Step 6, lips. So for this lip combo, I used NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Plantain, and that shade is like kind of like a nude on me. And I also used the CoverGirl lip gloss, Queen lip gloss. I forgot what color it's in though, but it's a dark brown shade. And I really been digging this kind of like 90s look where they have the really dark lip glosses, and then like the top lip is very dark, and then the bottom lip you have like the tiniest peak of like a little bit of light. Like I'll show how I achieved that. And then to achieve that little light in the middle, I used, I'm trying to think, did I use Plantain to achieve the light? Because Plantain is lighter than the dark brown. And so like I'll just take the dark brown and I'll just line my bottom lip with it. I won't put it all over. Just line the bottom lip with it. I think I used Plantain, or I may use a different, I used a different one. And so this one is, that was the NYX Butter Gloss in the color Fortune Cookie. And so like, you see what I'm saying? Like it just like kind of gives you this like vintage look, this kind of like grown woman look, you know, but it's still lip gloss. Like, you know, it's still youthful. Like it, you know, very college girl friendly. You're adulting, but you're not ready to be too grown just yet. And then that's it. So the step 7 is to take lots and lots of selfies.